Hello and welcome to Cracking the Rich Code, the podcast. I'm your host, John Verico, and I've got a special guest with me today. She's a mindset coach and has been in most recently the Cracking the Rich Code Volume 16. So you definitely want to check that out. Let me welcome to the screen Gayathri Riddhi.
Hello,
Gayathri, good
John.
morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here.
It's wonderful to have you. So I wanted to give people an opportunity to get to know you. Now your chapter is on mindfulness and mindfully shifting to winning mindsets,
Yes,
and that is, I think, something that so many of us need to understand. Right? We succeed based on our mindset. And
absolutely.
so I was very excited when I saw you come up on the list for interviews because I wanted to learn more about you. I have not picked up volume 16 yet, but I'm looking forward to do that. And then I'm going to have you sign my copy. But anyway, let's find out. Let's tell everybody who you are.
Thank you, John. And yes, I'm looking forward to you getting that volume and reading, especially my chapter. Not biased at all. Um, but yes, thank you for having me. And I am Gayatri Riddhi, as you eloquently introduced me. I have been coaching my entire professional life, not exactly with the title of coach, but I've been in the corporate world. I've been in many leadership roles, and the areas that I was in, it was primarily talent and human resources. I got the opportunity to work with various levels of leaders and coaching. So, at a certain point of time, when I decided I was going to start my own organization, it was a no brainer for me. This is the space I needed to be. This is a space that I felt was very much aligned with my purpose. And it all kind of culminated in the opportunity to write this chapter, which is truly focused on mindsets and what I have learned through my entire lifetime, personal and professional. And you pointed it out, John, which is it's your mind. How you look at the world is how the world is going to work for you. So, and this is a space that I've been working with leaders my entire career. And when I got the chance to write the chapter, I had to get this on paper.
So, coming into this realm
Hmm.
where you are helping other people with mindset,
Yes.
that is not something that you just wake up and go, I want to be a mindset coach someday, right? Is that that's something that you do as a little kid? So
Yeah.
how did you evolve to this? What was it about this kind of a field that really drew you?
So, very good question, John, because this, again, is not an overnight. Everything that we become is not overnight. It takes years and years of learning lessons and true reflection and self awareness. So, at a certain point of my life, I started doing a lot of reflection and recognized that the way I was learning how to be better is through mindfulness, which is very much in the present moment, and then any wisdom that comes out of it comes from reflections of the past versus living in the past. So mindfulness became part of my framework in how I navigated my own success and helping others when they were in the space of needing a shift in perspective, let's say, right, as they were trying to navigate their whatever it is that they were trying to navigate from a challenge standpoint. So mindfulness came into my life, and I embodied mindfulness in my life, and I recognized that I was able to help others through that. So by the time I recognized and fully acknowledged myself as a coach, I knew that had to be part of my framework. There was part of my framework is the mind and how you shift your mind, and the framework overarchingly had mindfulness as the core element of it. So yes, did that answer your question?
Yeah. I really like what you said about reflections of the past
Hmm.
rather than living in the past. And so
Indeed.
many of us will take the things that we've experienced and just keep re-experiencing them,
Yes.
in our own mind, and we limit ourselves based on those
Yes.
voices in our head that came to us through these past experiences. And we all know those voices in our head are really not our voices. They're other people. They're what other people told us that we could do or can't do, and all of
Mhm.
that stuff. And
Mhm.
as we evolve, we come to a point where we decide which of those voices we're going to listen to and pay attention to.
Mhm.
So, how do you help people to filter through all of that mess that's inside of our heads?
So we did not practice this, John. So what we are speaking is it is so I love the way organically you're starting the framework of the point that I do want to make, which is you're correct. Throughout our entire lifetimes, there are external voices that tell us who we are. And the critical juncture is when you recognize the only voice that is telling you anything worth listening to is your own. So, yes, there's information coming at us, but there's an element of recognizing who you are authentically and truly. And once you recognize that space, then the next step is to decide. And you're absolutely right. The elements of what we grew up with, what we experienced, who came into our lives and who left our lives, all that will have an impact. But if you can look at that as just pure information for us to figure out how to become our best, we are able to become our own observers and truly help us navigate the world better. When we start living in what people told us, our experiences, and we tend to stick in the same space of circles and cycles. And you made a point that I want to touch, which is we tend to relearn lessons, repeat lessons. And that is also a very, very critical point when it comes to the mind, which is you relearn a lesson because you have not changed your approach. You've not taken it as information to shift how you navigate that same experience that may come your way. What are you going to do differently? If you do not do something differently, you will experience that same lesson again and again and again.
Well, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing you always did and expecting a different result.
Yes. Indeed. But it's sometimes we have these sayings, and that's another thing. There's all these sayings, but not necessarily practical steps, how to actually execute it. I think that's where
Excuse me.
you're fine. I know you're recovering, and you're going to keep getting better, John. One day that cough will be gone completely.
Well, good. Thank you. Hopefully today would be right. So this whole concept
Yes.
of this kind of a winning mindset, it's
Mhm.
not something that we kind of start off with, right? It's something that evolves within us. So, did you have an epiphany in your life, or something that all of a sudden turned on that little light?
So it's interesting. For me, it again comes to that self reflection and self awareness. And very young, I can't quite pinpoint when I learned this lesson. It was there very early, which is there's two ways to learn, John. One is to learn from other experiences, other people's experiences, and one from your own. And so, as you said, there's a lot of wisdom out in the world. It's not like any one of us today is experiencing something brand new. It has happened to somebody somewhere, right? So there's a lot
So
of
true.
reflections out there. So there's patterns of behaviors and things that tell you this approach has a better chance for success versus this, which is again coming to the mindset. So, for example, in my chapter, I very much focused on giving practical steps versus saying shift your mind to winning. So I'm saying, okay, first you use the metaphor I put in was halt, right? So you have and I you have to read the chapter to learn more, of course, but the halt is essentially it's a step-by-step way of telling your mind recognize your toxic patterns, which is exactly the question you're asking, which is that's the first step is recognize and accept. If you are in denial, or if you tend to think of projecting your perspective on someone else. And what I mean by that is, let's say that we have a pattern of thinking something's not going to work out, right? And instead of acknowledging that it is our pattern, we say it's just the world is that way. It's everybody does things that just ends up making it that way, right? You have not taken accountability for how you view the world and how you're coloring the coloring pages of your life, right? So when that happens, you have not recognized what it is that you need to fundamentally work on. So the first step is halt, stop, cease, and recognize your toxic patterns. And once you've done that, then you can move into how do you rise out of it? How do you shift out of it? And that's another space that I've given. And of course, in the chapter, I could not go forever on it. So I had to be very succinct
Yeah.
about how I wanted to articulate. But the point I wanted to make was essentially, hey, there's a different way of doing this. If you think about this differently, if you adopt a different perspective, you are going to shift out of this whatever spinning you're doing over here to where you need to truly, you have this desire to get to, you just don't know how to get there. You can absolutely rise out of it. And then you shift. Once you rise out of that negative, you shift. And now you have to entrench this new way of thinking. And that's the other part, John, is sometimes we don't recognize that we need to shift till many, 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 many years into our lifetime. By then, we have trained ourselves very well, very, very well. So this shift into a positive way of behaving, thinking, looking at the world is not going to happen overnight. It is going to happen in time, and you have to be consistent. You have to be disciplined. You have to be determined. All those elements come to play. And this is something I also say, John, is the other part of it is you have to give yourself grace. Because when you're shifting out of something where you know it is not serving you, and when something is not serving you, there's so many elements of emotion associated with it. Baggage is a very one way of saying it, right? Associated with it. So if you're trying to move and you're not consistently moving over, you find yourself falling back, there is a tendency for that negative mindset to come in and be hard on yourself. And your nervous system does well with rewards. It does better with recognition and rewards versus, even if you're an introvert, you can give your own recognition. You don't need the world to clap for you. You clap for yourself because you have to recognize that, hey, wait, it took me, I don't know, I'm just making up a number, John, 39 years. It took me 39 years to learn.
You haven't even gotten there yet. Come on.
to learn this way of behavior. Now, how can I shift onto it in like 2 months, 1 week, 7 days? Wait, I'm going. So you have to be very graceful and give yourself grace that the fact that you have recognized you needed to make a shift, fact that you've risen to the challenge and now you're shifting over, good job. Kudos. That in itself is a milestone that you need to recognize for yourself.
We often forget to compliment ourselves or to give ourselves the grace
Indeed.
and understanding. We are usually our own worst, critics. We are speaking today with Gayathri Riddhi, who is an executive and mindset coach. And you can learn more about her and schedule an appointment with her at realizetowin.com. So definitely check out her website and also check out her podcast. Gayathri Riddhi's podcast is called Catalyze Yourself, and it can be found on Spotify, on Apple, and also on YouTube on her channel. So we'll have more information about that, which we'll put in the show notes so that you can check it out. But you definitely want to learn more about her and schedule an appointment to really, find out what this woman is all about and what she can do for you. I mean, just in these past few minutes of having this initial part of the discussion, I'm learning a lot. And I think, just being reminded that we need to give ourselves grace and to recognize our own little successes and to celebrate those successes as they happen, but even more so to recognize that it is a success when it does happen. So often we save our gratitude for the big things in life, and we
Mhm,
forget to acknowledge those little steps along the way.
mhm. Absolutely. I say aim small, miss small. I know it came from a movie somewhere back in the day. I think it was Braveheart. It is Braveheart. There was
Oh, good. Thank you. I was trying to remember what that was from.
it is Braveheart. It's that's the one line I took from that movie. The rest of it, I was probably looking at it with my eyes closed because there's a lot of bloodiness. You want to watch it, but there was one nugget that came out of it. But it's true. If you aim small, small steps, that will allow you to incrementally progress. And the key, as you said, and we have to reinforce this, every step is a milestone. So sometimes we wait for that giant, dramatic event to think that we have accomplished something. And that's just not how life works. That's not how our mind works. That's not how our soul works. That's not how our spirit works. So we have to give ourselves and recognize that we are working with our own selves to be our best, not somebody else, us, our own self.
I love it. I love it. And we limit ourselves. We talked about this a little bit already, but we
Mhm,
do have a tendency to limit ourselves, right? We say, "Well, I'll be happy when I get that new job."
mhm,
Or I'll be happy when I can get that house. I'll be happy when I have kids. I'll be happy when the kids are finally out of the house. I'll be
mhm.
happy when I Why do we keep waiting to be happy?
Bingo. Be happy today. Be happy today. So your journey is to wherever you want to go. We all should have an idea of how our life should be. Absolutely. It's the aspiration, it's the affirmation of our aspirations that tell us we will get there. But as we get there, don't be miserable doing it. Be happy doing it. Be the recognize the blessings of what we are having today that even allows us to take the steps to get to where we want to go. And so that will, again, it's our nervous system. We have so much studies that tell us, the reason why a lot of people go for dopamine hits through social media and things, you don't need that. You can truly bring that same level of chemical euphoria through how you live your life. You don't need to lay in bed and look at the phone and just have little things to remind you that, hey, wait, there's a chemical within our body that makes us feel good. We can get that just by how we live our life. So yes, be happy today. Choose happy.
And don't wait for other people to authenticate your happiness.
No, absolutely correct. I would emphasize that. Yes, the one person who knows the truth about you, because what other people see is what you show them. That's the first thing you have to recognize. It's what you say out, it is what you do, it is what you choose. All those are giving information to someone else. And then, you know what, if there's missing pages, and if that individual or individuals, whoever you surround yourself with, do not have the recognition of not projecting, if there's any blank spots, they're projecting. So it's not even what you told them, they just imagined it for you. So
Oh,
it's a
yes.
combination of you showing them what you decided to show them, and what they decided in their imagination you are is the persona that you're walking around with. It's not your truth.
I love it. I
Let's
love that. We forget that. Well, don't we? Because we always think that, okay, people will believe who we are based on what we show them, but we forget about the fact that they're going to extrapolate from that,
go.
and they're going to add a different, additional perspectives and perceptions.
Mhm. And so it's very, very important to remember that. And even for yourself, and catch yourself from projecting. Allow people to show you and know that they're not showing you all of them until they're ready to show you all of them. And even then, they will not be showing you 100% of them.
No, of
And
course
be
not.
okay with that. Be okay with that, because it's in that individual's um, prerogative to not. show you all of them.
Gayathri, when you're working with executives and you're
Yes.
trying to explain these concepts, and
Yes.
and basically you're telling them to be authentic, to be human, and to be vulnerable,
Mhm.
what kind of reactions do you get when executives, because a lot of times, again, our perceptions of executives, even if we're executives ourselves, we look at other executives as
Mhm.
being, they should be above all of this, and
Mhm.
so nobody wants to be overly vulnerable.
Mhm.
So how do you work with them to show the benefit of this vulnerability?
So the good news with coaching is it's not a lecture. It's an organic evolution of a conversation. And the other brilliance of coaching, John, is there's a lot of self-awareness that is self-induced through the process of it. So just a simple question and a deep dive into something creates these insights within themselves. And a lot of times, it's not that we don't know what to do or what we must do. It's because of five different things that we have decided would be a reason for us not to. So versus the vulnerability of doing it, it's like breaking down why not, why not. And so coaching and this is why I love the entire process of coaching, John, is removing the layers and becoming and being okay with being vulnerable, and choose your space and that's a psychologically safe space to be vulnerable. And you spoke about executives. There is a certain persona that executives, depending on the culture they're in, they
Hmm.
are forced to take on, whether that is their true self or not. And in many cases, they're not able to speak with their peers, their authentic space. They're not able to speak with their leaders, their authentic space, and they're not able to speak with their direct reports because there's an element of deliverables and the organizational effectiveness that they have to also navigate. So that's where the coaching space I am finding is the most beneficial. That's what all the studies show. More than anything, coaching helps executives if they have the right coach. Of course, not every coach is made the same. You and I know that, right? So if you have the right combination of leader and coach, you're able to truly look at how can you be effective being true to yourself and knowing the variables that you're working with, up, below, around, all of it. So it's not a narrative. It's very much insight.
There's nothing better when that relationship really gels between
Mhm.
a coach and client.
Mhm.
Absolutely, but that's the same with any relationship too, right? That's what makes everything work when things truly gel, when you can be open, honest, vulnerable with each other, and you just melch.
Yes.
You just
Yes.
meld and mesh together.
Yes.
So we're speaking with Gayathri Riddhi, and Gayathri is a mindset coach and an executive coach, and her website is there. It is right there, realize2win.com. Definitely check her out and check out her podcast as well. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But I did want to ask you, who are you?
You're asking me to introduce myself, John?
Well, who is Gayatri Riji, and how did you become so knowledgeable in this realm?
So it's interesting you asked me that, and I love your questions. By the way, you already told me you've been doing this for many years. I can see that. So my interest in the mind, I think, was there from childhood. So when I look back, and I do a lot of reflections, I think you got that about me. Every day I spend time reflecting, and when I was making the tremendous shift from just floating through life to intentionally living life, that was a time frame, and I was reflecting everything from my past. What are the lessons for me? And I recognized I was always a student of the mind. I was always fascinated by the human mind. And I was fascinated by how human beings responded to things. The same event will create a multitude of responses the same type of variables will create different types of reactions. So all those was very much fascinating to me. So which took me, my studies was in psychology, because I was definitely, that's the space I was most interested in. And then I wanted to move into the corporate space, and I moved into organizational tech talent, human resources space. And in the human resources, every chance I got, I was in the talent space. So that's the space I was naturally gravitating towards. And yes, I was seeing, and I touched on this, you can learn from others and yourself, right? There's two elements of it. So you cannot just look at the patterns. You have to look at yourself to say, how did you navigate? What happened? Where? What? So that created an element of what I peg as life lessons, wisdom, awareness. I can see patterns. I can see every experience that can apply to something else. It's all cumulative. Nothing happens in a vacuum. All those elements came into play. So if you ask me who I am today, who I am an absolute student of the mind. I am fascinated by the human mind. And it's not just the mind nervous system. The mind has three components. So it
Mhm.
is your brain, your heart, which is your emotion, and your entire being of spirit, right? So all of that is creating how you operate in this world, in this lifetime. So that's who I am. I recognize the holistic human,
I
and I
love it.
want to help those who are invested and recognize that I am somebody who can help them to recognize who they are today and help navigate to who they want to be. And if you ask me where I focus my coaching, it's life and leadership, because I believe life is how you lead your life is leadership. Everything of how we are is a leadership. We lead our own life. We have to be a leader in our lives. So yes, that's who I am. I'm all about the mind and shifting your mindset and framework of mindfulness integrated into it.
I love that perspective on leadership. So many times we think of leadership simply as the interaction with others, and how you lead others and how you provide opportunity for others, and we forget that we do lead our own lives, and leadership is self play. And so I'm going to steal that concept from you. No, I'm kidding.
Give me credit, John. Give me credit.
I absolutely will. So, Gayatri, if somebody wants to book an appointment with you, a discovery call, or
Yes.
learn more, let's talk a little bit about kind of your process of how, because you talked about the right coach and the right client, and it has to be a
Yes.
good mesh. So,
Yes.
so let's talk a little bit about how what a discovery call is like with you, and
Yes.
how you determine who to work with.
Yes. And it's a mutual determination. Both sides have to feel this is the right space, this is the right combination of minds to go forward together. So yes, on my side, there's a way to just click on and schedule a 30-minute complimentary discovery call. And that entire focus is learn about each other. So when you're interacting with somebody, you can get a sense of, are they even ready for coaching? Some people immediately think, oh, let me put a value on this time. Coaching is very much how you shouldn't be with a coach forever. You should learn what you need to learn, and now be able to run on your own. So it's essentially learning things to make your life operate in a different elevated level. So it's coming into the call. Number one, you have to be ready for it. Are you ready? Are you coachable? Are you ready? Are you recognizing this self accountability that's involved in coaching? So it's not someone telling you what to do, it is you deciding what you're going to do. Right? So all those elements come to play. And of course, depending on who it is and how the interaction goes, it's a success. Or I recommend someone else for them to go coach, and they will be like, hey, she's not the one for me. All good, because at the end of the day, it is the right combination of minds that have to come together for a coaching relationship to be successful.
Excellent. This has been a wonderful conversation, Gayatri. I really appreciate your taking the time to be on the podcast with us today, and looking forward to reading your chapter in volume 16.